last 1.5 year, the whole world has been facing this pandemic. What are
Yeah.
the kind of problems people have come to you in the last 1.5 year?
Predominantly, it's been mental anxieties in the last 1.5 years. Initially, it started with people having time on their hands, so they wanted to do explore yoga asanas. But the last 6 months or so, I have seen a very huge increase in mental anxiety. The second wave has brought about a lot of misery and pain for a lot of people, and so they are suffering. And of course, certain physical conditions like high cholesterol, high triglyceride levels, again, being led on through stress.
Okay. Now, how can we make these conditions better with yoga?
Yoga is, like I said, it's a science of the absolute. So when it comes to these conditions, the first five are more Bahirang, and then the last three are the Antarang, where there is a mental equilibrium. First, there's a physical equilibrium that we are looking for through the Yam, Niyam, Asana, and Pranaya. And then we have the mental equilibrium, the samgun, like we can transcend the three gunas or the doshas. And so they really, really help in, a person coming out of their anxieties and to be more stable. See, life has many challenges. You go up and down with the way the world is always changing. But then to have stable ground, yoga can provide and help with that a great deal.
Okay. Another thing is, why is flexibility important in yoga? Because as compared to, say, gymming, which stiffens the joints and muscles, I don't think there's flexibility in other forms of exercise. They are more on strength and muscle building.
So yoga, I wouldn't call it just flexibility based. There is a strength that comes from ease. Whereas, always being challenged and to be strong doesn't mean that you become stiff. But there is in the other forms of exercise, there's a no pain, no gain philosophy. But in yoga, there is how much of your nervous system can you relax. And when you do that, so let's say if one has to do a split, which requires a lot of flexibility, the leg front splits. If I give somebody anesthesia, so if the nervous system is put to sleep, you will go into a full split, which means the nervous system is pretty much coming in the way of the split. And of course, there's fascia entangling. Every night it happens when we go to sleep. It's like building spider webs inside the body, jale bante hain jaise. And so about, okay, if you can stretch, you will remove that. And there are many years of jale for a lot of people, and every traumatic thought, whether it thought or a physical injury, will bring about a restriction and a contraction. If you notice, if let's say you are feeling sad, you will have a feeling of being shrunk. But if you're feeling happy, you will have a sensation of being boundless, right? And let's call flexibility that, So flexibility is one of the 5 elements of fitness which are used in yoga, not the one all and all.
Okay, now before we move to the asanas, one question I think I missed out. That tell us about the schools of yoga and which school you follow and what do they signify?
There are many schools of yoga. Predominantly, there's been Iyengar yoga with Guruji VKS Iyengar. Then there's Ashtanga yoga of the Mysore school of Patabi Joy's teacher. So both are very nice. There are many other, they also have lineages from earlier. Which I wouldn't want to get into those right now, because then we're concentrating more on the messengers than the message itself. And I particularly feel that we should concentrate on the message of yoga. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been a very perfection-oriented and alignment-oriented type of a person. So I took a lot of learnings from Iyengar yoga. From Rishikesh, my teacher was Usha Devi, and of course I've had many personal teachers also. I've also trained with certain international masters to understand asana practice better. Regarding then there's Swami Shivanand, who has written wonderful texts on translations of all the yoga texts. So
Great. That's lovely to know. So now, if you could help us, with a few asanas, like as you said, most people are facing problems of anxiety, and then there is mental stress, and also on the physical side, there is the cervical problems. Most
Yeah. Correct. So also COVID patients, by the way, I've had a lot of COVID patients lately who are recovering. And, what happens is firstly, I want to address that. It's very important that pranayam is not a simple technique which should be, just given out freely to a recovering COVID patient. It's a whole, and I've noticed this, a person, if they have to take a deep inhale when they're recovering, they're not able to, and they cough a lot. So
Yes.
first piece, and then breathing. So meditation goes very well with the breathing exercise for such people. And again, it's about the nervous system, and once your body is open and it is receptive, then the channels are open for pranayam. So that is a big, huge take away for everybody who feel that pranayam is the end all for increasing lung capacity. Yeah. So, sorry, your other question was about the other physical restrictions,
Yes.
right? So, see, as far as mental anxieties are concerned, let's call the spinal cord as a channel for the nervous system. And the cervical and the tightness that happens in the vertebra, or the slumping down and the non-uplifting attitude of a person's physical or a mental. It's all about upliftment eventually, regarding physical or mental. So if one doesn't do that, there's a lot of intra-abdominal pressure. There's a lot of constriction of vertebrae. So there are certain asanas like Marjari asana or rolling of the spine that I make people do a lot, and then the spinal twists, which will help a whole lot in freeing up the body, which gets very tight and restricted when you're sitting, especially on screens these days.
Before you go, give us a little mantra for happiness, because many people are struggling. So, any yoga for happiness, what can be done to combat the mental stress and anxiety being felt by everybody? Now it's getting better, but still, I believe the repercussions will be long term, what we have all gone through and the unusual circumstances. So, if
Yeah.
there's meditation or anything that you would like to share with, I can also.
Right. Right. So, meditation, of course, we'll do in before we do that. Regarding happiness, like I said, one's true nature is peace and happiness, and when we return back home to our true selves, rather than to just live in our superficial form of being. Samatvam yoga uchayate. Equanimity of mind is called yoga. Also, skill in action. Yoga karmasu kaushalya. So you are able to, when you are able to understand that it's not about being into the pleasure filled or outward sensations, that will always keep changing, but rather to point your mind to the reality of life. There's certain things which never change.
Yes.
Those are real. Anything that changes is illusory, and if you're going to live in the illusory world, then there will be suffering. The first sutra of Sankhya Karika is dukh traya vigatat jigyasa, which means when you are going to want to get rid of your suffering, then you will be on your path to happiness. And dukh, there are three types of dukh. It's all explained in that adi daivik, adi bhautik, adi adhyatmik. So all of these point you to go back inward.
Mm-hmm.
And very few people can actually sit in solitude and just enjoy the just being, because the mind is so used and conditioned to going here and there and everywhere, that there's no sense of focused energy. It's scattered energy all the time. So as far as mantra is concerned, for people, I would say for them to understand that don't be confused by what your intellect is hearing. This is straight from the Gita, by the way. Don't be confused by what you're hearing or seeing or experiencing or feeling. Stand firm as the self.
Okay. Wow.
You will get lost in what you see or hear or feel also, but these are all forms that you don't need to pay attention to. Come back home to your real self.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah
That's the way you explain it, because people have been through so much, and still there's all around, there's so much of over information, as well as the real happening. Grief is there. So
yeah
how to come over that? It's so.
I mean, for a layperson, anything that you're interested in, you will do that. But once you have seen misery, you may even lose interest in that. You see how illusory this world is. So, for people to understand that, of course, it will take a little bit of time, but to know always that you're always the self. You're never not the self. So, that's the good news. This energy of peace that one is seeking is always here. It never leaves. That's the best part.
I think that's the reason why probably children are always happy, and as we grow up, we
start defining them, and we give them their names, and then we comment upon their bodies and how they're doing in school and how many marks. So all about the measurable and no talk about the immeasurable.
True. That's lovely to hear. So I think we're ready for the meditation.
Yeah, sure. So let's, because we are looking to shut the external stimulus, it will be nice if you can shut your eyes, Shivani.
Sure.
And you're sitting straight, I'm assuming your spine is erect.
Yes.
And now we're going to concentrate on the out breath. Make it a little slower than normal. Concentrating on a slow out breath. Take a few such exhales. Yeah, see, the inhales also become better when you do that. So just one more slow, relaxed out breath. And now I would like you to pay attention to the silence that is there in the room. And similarly, this silence within you. There would be noises like my words would be coming to you through the screen into your room, but despite these noises, there is a silence, and you allow it to grow just simply by paying attention to it. Silence is here despite all noises. And we're just bringing it to the foreground. Usually it is in the background and it's ignored. And again, taking a nice deep breath. Without opening your eyes, feel your right arm and your right hand. And again, without opening your eyes, feel your left arm and your left hand. Without opening your eyes, feel your entire body as one single energy unit, sitting in silence, with silence, as silence itself. Everything comes and goes. Silence stays always. Now you can pay attention to the in-breath, which is revitalizing. It's like starting your engines again. Your mind and body will be re-energized through your inhales, again slow, easy, relaxed, long, without any hurry at all. Enjoy the in-breath. And after your next in-breath, simply open your eyes, rubbing off the hands, bring a little bit of heat while placing on the eyes, being grateful for all that you were able to do today.
So lovely.
So very
relaxed.
You're feeling better? Yeah.
Much better. It's so simple, but we in 24 hours we don't find 2 minutes to do something like this. Sure.
It's just the dhyan on the real. Real never changes. It's always here. And so for the yogi, they say the night is day and day is night. So the background becomes the foreground and the foreground goes to the background.
Wow. If you could give us one message before you go for the International Day of Yoga, and why do you think it is important to celebrate this day?
International Day of Yoga, to be very, very honest with you, when I first heard the concept, it was a huge surprise for me because I feel yoga is something which one does every day. But I understand and I'm aware that it's a glimpse into the world of yoga.
Yes.
And it brings about awareness for the whole international community of the human population. And yoga does not distinguish between a youngster or an adult or white or black or long or tall or short. So it's meant for everybody, and there's no religious background to yoga as such. So one can practice it, and as far as the message of yoga is concerned, that everything is yoga. Mm-hmm. If one can, if you can be mindful, put your dhyan, put your authentic selves, be honest. These are all mentioned in the Yam Niyam, by the way. Okay. All of these elements of being can help you transcend the mind. And especially in these times when there has been suffering, if we can keep the mind on Pratipaksh Bhavana, which means that, and also to know the difference between the impermanent and the permanent, the real, the unreal, and the self and the not self. It's from the Yoga Sutras. So what one can do is to understand that situations and experiences are not permanent. And we can keep our mind on the permanent, which means just keep the larger picture in mind and don't go by short-term suffering.
Okay, I think that's a beautiful message, and I'm sure our viewers will benefit a lot. If you want to get in touch for further consultation, then I have given Shaloo's coordinates earlier in the program, and I'll be sharing it later in the text also. Thank you so much, Shaloo, for joining us.
Thank you, Shivani. It's a pleasure to be with you always.